Hello and welcome to Sunday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where I need to distract myself from the football that's going on this afternoon. And what better way is there to do that than to try a puzzle by Totally Normal Cat, undoubtedly one of the minds that occupies a higher plane in the Sudoku universe, sort of like a Q to our Jean-Luc Picard, if you know what I mean. Now, this puzzle has been incredibly highly requested. In fact, I think it would be fair to say that of all the constructors in the world of Sudoku at the moment, the puzzle or the puzzle creator we get requested most to solve on the channel is Totally Normal Cat. Now, I think that's a combination of two things. Firstly, Totally Normal Cat's puzzles are impossible as a general rule, but secondly, they are utterly brilliant. Now, this puzzle apparently is only 3 stars out of 5 for difficulty on Logic Masters Germany. Now, yesterday's puzzle was 3 stars out of 5 for difficulty, and that took me nearly an hour. So we have to take that with a pinch of salt, but it ought to be approachable. It's called Scattershot. I don't know why. That might be just all these Kropki dots in the grid, but we'll have a go at this in a second. Couple of quick pieces of news before we kick off. Firstly, and most importantly, our Arrows app is now out on all platforms. I mentioned this yesterday. Thank you so much to those of you who've bought it already, and thank you incredibly much to those of you who've given it nice reviews. We have been thrilled with the comments so far. It is a very, very good app in the sense that the guest puzzles is what I'm talking about here, but the guest puzzles are just a joy. So if you have any love of handcrafted Sudoku, I know that you'll enjoy the puzzles in the app, and I certainly commend it to you. Other than that, if you're a patron of the channel over on Patreon, $3 patrons and above, there are 4 new videos over on Patreon. We released them this afternoon, going through Matyas Martinka's Build Your Own Sudoku Hunt. So every puzzle is covered, and yeah, I mean it's been quite a lot of work to put those videos together, but I mean, what a hunt that is. It really is stellar. So if you have tried the hunt and got stuck, do check out those videos. They should sort you out. And that's all I've got to tell you about. So now I get to try Totally Normal Cat's puzzle. And the rules are as follows. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Digits along an arrow must sum to the digit in that arrow circle. Well, we're familiar with that with all the arrows we've been doing recently. So what that means is, if you're trying to work out what goes in this circle, all you do is sum those 3 squares up. So those 3 squares, whatever you get, you put in that circle, and you're good to go. Apart from that, cells separated by a black dot have a ratio of 1 to 2. So these are the black Kropki dots in the grid. And in fact, somebody told me the other day that Kropki in Polish, which is the language from which Kropki originates, means dots. So when you say Kropki dots, you're actually just saying dots dots, which must be quite amusing if you're Polish. Cells separated by a white dot have a difference of 1, i.e. they must be consecutive. So those 3 squares have to be a consecutive sequence of digits. If you put, I don't know, 6 in there, this square's either got to be 5 or 7. That's how that works. And other than that, not all dots are given. Right, so there's no negative constraint going on. All positive information today. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And we shall get cracking, well, the classic way of getting cracking in Arrow Sudoku, as you'll know if you've done any recently, is to look at long arrows. So you can see that this cell here, and in fact that cell there, are summing 3 cells that must contain different digits. So the absolute minimum we can put in those 3 squares is 1, 2 and 3, and therefore the absolute minimum we can put in there is a 6. 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6, so that's got to be 6, 7, 8 and 9. That's got to be 6, 7, 8 and 9. And we take a stare at the grid from there. Right. Right, okay. Now, one thing I have learnt about Totally Normal Cat is that Totally Normal Cat can do maths quite well. So, in fact, this is an opportunity to reveal the secret. Now, if you're not familiar with the secret, this is a secret that could win you $1 million on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, as you'll know if you've been watching the channel for any amount of time. But we can ask a question about the sum of those 9 digits. what do these 9 digits sum to? Well, obviously a box of a Sudoku contains all of the digits 1 to 9. So we're adding up the digits 1 to 9. If we add up the digits 1 to 9, we get 45. Now there is something I know about 45, and that is it's divisible by 3. Why do I think that matters? Well, look what Totally Normal Cat has done here. 3 Kropki dots here, 3 Kropki dots here. So, think about this square. This square, let's imagine it's x. Let's do some algebra. If this is x, one of these two squares must be x minus 1, and the other square must be x plus 1. In other words, any sequence of 3 Kropki dots in a box like this sums to 3x, which means that's 3y. So we've got 3x here plus 3y here. In other words, these 6 digits are divisible by 3, and the whole box is divisible by 3. So what does that tell us about those 3 digits? Yep, they've got to be divisible by 3. Otherwise, maths doesn't work, and that won't work for anything. So if these 3 digits are divisible by 3, i.e. the sum of them is divisible by 3, because we know we're heading up towards 45, which of course is divisible by 3, this must therefore be divisible by 3, and therefore it's 6 or 9, and the same logic is going to apply beautifully symmetrically in box 7. So that is a 6-9 pair, and we are off and running. Now those squares look interesting. No, okay. I thought we might be able to get these, because I can see that I can't put 7 or 8 in this run of 3 cells, because if I do, I'll run into one of the digits 6 and 9, as these 3 cells must be consecutive. But actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, we know there's a 3 in one of those squares. I think that's what we get from that. Because the minimum these could be is 1, 2, 3, and the maximum they could be is 3, 4, 5. Right, okay, but one thing we do need to do in box 5 is put an 8 somewhere. Where should we put the 8? Well, in fact, we've got to put the 8 and the 7 somewhere. This is clever. Right, okay, sorry, I'm being slow. So, the 8 definitely can't go in these 3 squares for the reasons I've mentioned. If you try and put 8 in one of these squares, you'll have to go 8, 7, 6, and that'll clash with the 6. So 8 is it. 8 is definitely on an arrow. Now, what digit does 8 go with on its arrow? These are 2-cell arrows, so we can't put anything other than 1 with the 8, because if we do, we're going to end up with a 2-digit number in one of these circles. So one of these 4 digits must be a 1. But now we ask the same question of 7. We can't put 7 in the central 3 dots, because we'll run into the 6 or the 9, depending on whether we go up or down from there. So 7 must be on an arrow. And if 7's on an arrow and you can't accompany it with a 1, because the 1's been sort of paired off and married to the 8, the only digit that will go with a 7 and keep these down to a single digit total is a 2. So those 4 digits are 1, 2, 7 and 8, and these 3 digits are the other digits, which is 3, 4 and 5. And that's rather beautiful, isn't it? I mean, it really is. It's just elegance personified. And of course now we've got 1, 8 and 2, 7 here, so we've got these digits added are both 9 then. Now, that looks like it's doing something in these boxes. Is it doing something? We know 9's never on an arrow, don't we? So we've got sort of a strange Starship Enterprise type pattern in both boxes, which cannot be a 9. So 9's definitely in these cells, in boxes 3 and box 7. Right, okay, so 9 is on one of the Kropki dots, so whichever one of those is 9 will go with an 8 in one of those 2 squares and a 7 in one of those 2 squares. And the same must be true down there, so I'm not actually sure that that's... I don't know whether that's a clever thing to observe or not. Whichever one of these arrows is 6 will be 1, 2 and 3. Now, whichever one is 9, I'm just wondering if we can restrict the... Yeah, Yeah, we can. Let's think about this. I don't know which of these is 9. Let's just imagine it's this one so that I can talk about it. Let's imagine this is 9. Now, there are 3 ways of making 9 in 3 digits. One of those ways is 2, 3, 4. But if we do that, the 1 in this box will have to live in a sequence, in a consecutive sequence of 3 digits, and it can't, because the only digits 1 can be consecutive with, well, the only digit is 2, and we know 2 will be on this arrow. So 2, 3, 4 is impossible, and you're going to get the same problem with 1, 3 and 5 with the 2 now, or the 4. The 2 or the 4 will have to be on a white Kropki dot, and then you're going to need a 1 or a 3, which you can't use. So the only thing that will work on the 9 arrow is a 1, 2, 6 combination. Yeah, and that's lovely, which allows a 3, 4, 5 to nest themselves in one of the white Kropki dot sequences. So we don't know what this is, but we do know that these arrows are either 1, 2, 3 or they are 1, 2, 6. So there's always 1 and 2 on them, and then either 3 or 6 on them, and the same must be true by symmetry in box 7. So 4 and 5 live in the white Kropki dots for sure, either with 3 or with 6. Right. Okay, well, that feels like we've learned some things, although it's not actually given us any more digits. So where are we going to look next? We should look at those, maybe? I'm looking for long sequences of Kropki dots, so those are obviously 3 consecutive digits. The thing is, I think these can be almost anything. 9, 8, 7. These, we've got another sequence here, and this interacts somehow with this arrow. Again, I mean, now if I was Mark, I would probably notate this whole sequence, and I might actually have to do that because that's... no, I can do something easier. This 9 is interesting because what I cannot do is put a 9 on a black Kropki dot. Because a black Kropki dot, because the ratio is always 1 to 2, you're either going to look at a 1-2 pair, a 2-4 pair, a 4-8 pair, or a 3-6 pair. So there's no 9 on here. So there's no 9 in those by the power of Sudoku. So the 9 in this box is in one of 4 cells. Now that's only interesting in the sense that it's marrying up with the positions of 9s in box 5. Oh, yeah, okay, there's a simpler way of doing this. I was about to say that means 9's in one of these 3 squares in row 5, and that is true, but we could just ask the straightforward question at this point, where does 9 go in row 5? It's not on the black Kropki dot, it's not in there by Sudoku, it doesn't appear to be in there by whatever we've done earlier. So 9 is on this white Kropki dot, and 9 must accompany 8 on a white Kropki dot, because 10 is impossible. Now that feels very deliberate, doesn't it? So why does this matter? That means those 2 squares are not 8, which means these 2 squares are not 1, which means 1 in the box is definitely in the central row, which means that this Kropki dot is now not, it's not 4, 8, and it's not 1, 2. So it's either 2, 4. I'll tell you why it's not 2, 4. Good grief, Simon. Look at this run of digits. 3, 4, 5. What's the middle one? Oh, good Lord. It's definitely a 4. So that means this is not, it's now not, well, once you get this 4, you know it's not 2, 4 or 4, 8. And we now know it's not 1, 2. So the only thing that can be is 3, 6 now. Which means... I think it means something, but I'm not sure what that thing is. 5 now has to be in one of 2 places in row 5. I'm not sure if that... I'm always quite interested when a digit's locked into just 2 positions like that. I might highlight that just in case, just to try and remind myself there's something odd about those 2 squares. And okay, what does all this mean? 8, 9. Oh, sorry. Right, okay. Here's a simple thing it means. That can't be a 9, because if that's a 9, that's an 8. You go 9, 8, and then this has no value. So that means this triple in box 7 is not the 9, 8, 7 triple, which means that one is. So that's 9, 8, 7. That's 9, that's 8. 8 lives on the left-hand side of box 1. It lives in 3 cells there in box 8. The 9, that is, sorry. These squares now, we don't know. We know there's a 4 and a 5 in them, but we don't know. Because we don't know this, we don't know what goes in those 3 squares yet. Now, can we put 8 on this run of digits here? Ah, that's lovely. No, you can't. Very simply, if you put 8 in any of those 3, well, if you put 8 in any of those squares, because 9 is not available, you know that the run of 3 digits on these Kropki dots is 8, 7, 6. Where would the 7 go? This is what I forgot with the 4 here. The 7 would have to go in the centre of those 3 digits in this square. Well, that definitely can't be a 7, which means 8 is not on the white Kropki dots. So 8 is locked into one of those 2 squares. Yeah, lovely. And 8 can't be on the arrow, because if 8's on the arrow, this is a 1, and it's in the centre of a run of 3, so one of those squares would have to be, yep, you've guessed it, a 0. And although I can put it in the software, I can't put it in the Sudoku grid legitimately. So that square is not 8, which means this is 8, which means 8 is in one of those 3 squares. Oh, this is gorgeous, right? Because now 8 can't be here. And if 8 can't be there, that can't be the run of 7, 8, 9. So we actually get the 9, the 8, and the 7 in box 3. We get 8 in one of those 2 squares by the looks of things. In box 6. 7 has now become useful in the central row, I think, because these 7s are pinching the blue squares. The blue squares, which I highlighted in blue because I was thinking about 5s, but now cannot be 7s. So 7 in row 5 is definitely in one of those 2 squares, and 1 is in one of those 2 squares. That means 2 cannot also occupy these squares. So now 2 must be... Yeah, we get a 1, 7 pair, and then we must have a 2, 8 pair in the corners. So we've got 2. So one of these is 8, 1, one of them's 2, 7. I have a feeling we know which way round that is. I just can't quite see it. These 2 squares are now 2 and 5 to complete row 5. There's definitely 4s and 5s in this triple. And now we have to stare again. Okay, so where do we look now? Where is the obvious place to look? Is there an obvious place to look? What has Totally Normal Cat hidden this time? It's going to be... I don't know. There are 3 places I think it probably is. Well, it's probably one. It's either this one, and I don't know what to do with this, to be honest. I mean, I can see there's no 8 in this line, because if there's an 8 in there, there has to be a 7. But it still looks to me like 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s are all possible. So I don't think it's this. It could be this black Kropke dot, which I can see can't be 4, 8. But it could be 2, 4. It could be 1, 2, and it could be 3, 6, I think. 3, 6 would pair up with this 3, 6. That would require 6 here and 3 here, which looks, well, it looks at least conceivable. The other place was here. What do we know about this? Maybe we've got to think about how we make 9. 1, 8 is no longer available. So if this is 2, yeah, it's probably worth doing this, because this cell is under a constraint, because it's got to be in the center of a run of 3 digits, and it's got to add up to 9 with this one. So 2, 7 looks possible. 3, 6, whoops, 3, 6. This would have to have 2, 4 either side of it. Ah, yeah, look. What you can't do, this is nice, you can't put 4 or 5 in this square. Because if you do, what do you have to put in this square? Well, you have to put the other one. If you put 4 here, you've got to put 5 there to add up to 9. But the moment you put 4 here, you need 5 in one of those 2 squares. The moment you put 5 here, you need 4 in one of those 2 squares, and the 4 would be hypothecated off into row 7, column 9. So you can't put 4 or 5 in this square. So this square, I think, is more restricted than I'd realised. So we've got 2, 3, 4, 5. If this was 6, that would be a 3. The 7 would have to go there. This would have to be a 5, which would do all sorts of damage. 7. Don't know. And this can't be 7. So there still seem to be 3 options for this. Ah, right, no. There aren't 3 options. There's 1 option. Because if this is a 3, 6 pair, it pairs up with its friend here. And then we can ask the simple question, where do you put 3 and 6 in column 7? They wouldn't be there, they couldn't be there, and you can't put both of them in that cell. So you can't put 3, 6 on this arrow. So this arrow is 2, 7, and we know the order. That's lovely. That really is clever. And look now, that must be a 1, 3 pair, surrounding the 2 with consecutive digits. This must be 4, 5, and 6 to complete the box. Therefore, that's no longer a 6, look. 7. Oh, 7 is with its friend the 8 in these 2 squares. So this is a 7, 8 pair, which shifts 9 over to these. Oh, you already knew that, look. 9 is in one of those 2. 2 is not there. There's a 1, 3, 6 triple in this column. That gets rid of a 6 at the bottom. So this square now. Okay, this square is 4 or 5. Because it can't be 1, 3 or 6, and it can't be 7 or 8, and it can't be 9 or 2. So that's 4 or 5. This square, right, this is a 4, 5 pair. Ah, I see, because we don't know what these 3 digits are, but if they're 1, 2 and 3, we know this is a 4, 5, 6 triple. What goes in the centre of a 4, 5, 6 triple it's a 5. A 5 would be here. If this is 1, 2, 6, on the other hand, because this is a 9, we know this is a 3, 4, 5 triple, and the middle digit is a 4. So the middle digit here is always 4 or 5. This is a 4, 5 pair, which we can notate like this, which means this square is the other, it's sort of the odd digit we don't use on this diagonal, which is a 3 or a 6, isn't it? So this square is it's a 3, 6 pair here now. Good grief, there's some stuff going on in columns 8 and 9. This square can't be a 6. Oh, we've got a deadly pattern of 4s and 5s there. Very nearly a deadly pattern on 6s as well. And 3s and 6s, sorry. This square is a 6 because this has become a 4, 5 pair. That square is not a 6. Six in box 3 is in that domino. And this square can't be a 2. Look, sorry, I'm catching up on my pencil marking here. 7 must be in one of those 3 squares. And I've got a horrible feeling I know which way round these are. Well, no, let me restate that. I've got a horrible feeling you know which way round these are. I do not know which way round these are. But perhaps I should know. The answer... I can't see how I know which way round these resolve. I really can't. This square's got to be a 4 or a 5, hasn't it? By exactly the same logic that that square is a 4 or 5. Ah, now. So these two squares are different. That might be important, because we know one of these sequences is 3, 4, 5, which has a 4 in the middle. The other is 4, 5, 6, which has a 5 in the middle. So these two are different digits, which we should bookkeep. Because now I'm wondering, for example, this square now... Oh, it's useless. Absolutely useless. So I was about to say, any cell that sees both the green and the purple cells, which are exactly that square and that square, can't contain a 4 or a 5. But unfortunately, you can see that was already readily available from this domino here, and the fact that there's a 7 in this square. So that's completely useless. Bobbins. That's going to have destroyed my pop filter as well. I'll say bobbins about that as well. Right, so we've got to do something else. We know 6 can't be in this sequence anymore. So now this sequence of digits, it can't include 8 because that's going to break the 7. And it now can't include 6. So there's these 3 squares are from 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. You can never put 1 in the middle. And you can't put 5 in the middle either, because then one of those 2 squares will be a 6. So that square is more restricted than I thought. This is a 2, 3 or a 4. Oh, this is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. This square is a 2, 3 or a 4. So what do we know about the 3 cells taken as a whole? Well, we know there's a 3 in one of them, because if this is 2, this is a 1, 2, 3 triple. If it's 3, well, obviously there's a 3 in them. And if it's a 4, it's a 3, 4, 5 triple. So there's always a 3 in one of those 3 squares. So there's no 3 here, which means that's a 6, that's a 1, that's a 6, that's a 3. That's this. Oh, look. Yeah, this is it. Now I do know what this is, because this diagonal can't have a 6 on it anymore. So that's a 2, that's a 3, that's a 6, that's a 9. The 1 and the 3 are disambiguated at the bottom. That's no longer a 3, that's no longer a 1. Don't know if we know much about this one, but we know now that this... Yeah, look, we know that this is a 1, 2, 6 triple. So there's no 3s on this diagonal. Once we remove the 3s, this becomes a 6. Which doesn't actually seem to do very much, but anyway, that means we've got... Yeah, so now... Yes, now we must know what this triple is, mustn't we? Same is true over here. In fact, this is simpler over here. This has got to be consecutive with 6, so that's 5, 4, which means this needs to be 3, 4, 5, and the middle digit there is 4, so this is a 3, 5 pair, and there's a 3 here. So that's all sorted out. And now we've just got to figure out, there's a 5 here, that's fixing 5s and 4s. Those two squares are a 1, 9 pair, I think. So these squares are 2s, 4s and 5s, which somehow doesn't seem to be resolved. Okay. So now I've still not done my black crop key dot here. 3, 4, 5, 9. Can't. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. I'm wondering whether I'm meant to be doing Sudoku or doing crop key dots. We can. Do we know anything about this? There's a 9 here. I'll tell you what we do know. There's a 9 here, so that's a 9, and that's a 1. And that does absolutely nothing. Well, we know that this crop key dot now is not 1, 2. So it's either 2, 4. It's not 4, 8 either. So it's either 2, 4 or 3, 6. Ah, right. Here is a trick. Here is a beautiful... This is just totally normal cat in a nutshell. Because why can't this be 2, 4? That's the question to ask. And the way to think about it is to look at this white crop key dot, because there is one property of a white crop key dot that is true, and that is that it must have an even digit on it. Any white crop key dot, because it contains consecutive digits, will contain an odd and an even digit. So if that's 2, 4, which even digit are we putting on that white crop key dot? It can't be 6, it can't be 8, and it couldn't be 2 and 4, so it could be nothing. You can't put anything on there, so that's not 2, 4. And that fixes the crop key dot. Well, it fixes it a little bit, because now if you can't put 2, 4 on here, and you can't put 4, 8 on there, the 4 in the box has to go on the white crop key dot, which might be useful. So it's either 4, 5 or 3, 4. It's creating a 3, 4, 5 triple, which is giving us a 2 here, which is giving us a 5 here and a 4 here. And this 2 is fixed. This is it. This is giving us an 8. That's giving us a 2, a 7, and a 1. This is giving us a 2. This 2 is giving us a 2 and a 1. There's now a 2 in one of those two squares. If we knew it was here, it would be huge. I'm not sure if we do know that or not. This 8 is fixing the 8 and the 7. Now this row needs a 1 in it, so that must go here. There's now a 1 in one of those two squares. We know there's a 4 on the crop key dot. We know this can't be a 5. We don't seem to know much about this one. So what is this crop key dot then? Right, that's 3, 6, isn't it? Which is fixed. So we get the 6, we get the 3. We get the 3, we get the 5. This square now, this is now 4. This is a 5 to complete the row, and that square's got to be a 7 by Sudoku, and suddenly it's looking a lot better, isn't it? So now we need 5s, 6s and 8s up there. Let's fill that in. That's not 6, that's not 5, that's not 8. Can we do this Kropki dot now? So this could be 1, 2, I think. Either it's 1, 2, or it's got a 7 on it, which would have to go there. So it would have to be 7, 8, because this square can't be a 6. I'm sure there's a way of resolving that, I just can't see what it is. So maybe we've got to come back to this. You can't put 2 on it anymore because of this 1. So that central digit of that triple is not 2. This is a 3 or a 4, which means this is a 3 or a 4. Right, okay, so what if this is 4, what digit do we put into this square? It would need to be 3 or 5, it can be neither. So this is a 3, this is a 4, this is either 2 or 4, and it can't be 4, so that's 2, that's 4. And hopefully we're now on the home straight. This is a 1, 7 pair. And this is 5, 8s and 9s in some order, but that can't be 5. Still don't know if I know what this Kropki dot is. Sorry if you're all shouting at me about that one. It's almost certain that I know what that is. I just can't see what it is. Let's look at the bottom of the grid. We need 1s, 3s and 7s into those squares. That's not helpful. That's not 7. That's not 1. That's not 3. And we don't have any Kropki dots or anything to help us out. Those squares are 2, 6 and 8. Better. That square's got to be an 8 by Sudoku. That's getting rid of an 8 up there, look. And these two squares are 2 and 6. So has that done anything for us? Don't believe it. I'm not sure that it does. It has, you know. Sorry, there's a 5 here, so that square's got to be a 9. That is useful. That gives us an 8 here, and that's going to get rid of all of the issues in row 2. This 4 is disambiguating the 4 and the 5. The 5 here must go there. That's giving us a 6 here and an 8 here, although I think that might have been already available to us. This square by Sudoku is a 1 or a 3, and it can't be a 3. So this is a 1, this is a 3, that's a 7, that's a 1, this must be a 2. 1s and 7s go into the grid. This square's a 6, that's giving us the 6 and the 2. And if I've not made an error, that should be a 3 and that should be a 7. And that is, I think, yes, the correct solution. It's just brilliant, isn't it? How many ideas can you sort of pack in to a Sudoku? The answer in Totally Normal Cat's case seems to be a lot. I mean, the start is beautiful. I mean, I think I've seen this Kropki trick before, you know, because I do know that 3 consecutive cells are divisible by 3. So this jumped out at me, but if you've not seen it before, it's probably quite tricky to spot that there's a 6-9 pair. But the whole thing is gorgeous thereafter. The way that you sort of eliminated 7s from those squares, the way you could back into how the middle box worked, and especially how you could lock 2, 4 out of that black Kropki dot by reference to parity on the white Kropki dot is, I mean, it's just mesmerizing. Just a complete genius. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments. I do read them and I do enjoy them, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.